Good morning. How are you?
Fine, how are you?
Good. You going birding? We're hiking.
Hiking.
Okay.
Both.
Oh. I'm Anthony.
Hi, Anthony.
What's your name?
I'm Jackie.
Nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you.
What are you here? You gonna hike?
I'm gonna take a hike.
Oh, take a hike.
Yeah.
You're literally gonna take a hike.
I'm literally gonna take a hike.
I like that.
Now, the last time I was here, which was the first time I'd been here in quite a few years, I was trying to stay on a trail so I,
Oh, don't ask me for trail advice.
You don't know the trail?
No, I don't work here.
Oh, you don't?
I look official, right? They do have. They do have maps. Is it empty over there?
That's okay.
Okay. They also have maps on the trail.
Here's a map.
Okay.
Well, I mean, that I can look at.
Yeah.
Yeah, the last time I was here, I was trying to take a longer hike, and I turned too soon or something. I don't know what I did.
Oh, yeah, if you make a left too soon, you'll...
you make a short...
It's a shorter... Yeah, yeah. Well, before you do your hike, do you have 5 minutes to do a chat? I interview strangers about deeply held beliefs.
About deeply held beliefs?
Yeah, and I time it for 5 minutes. It's cool. I've been doing it for like 2 years. And I've had chats here with people about...
Now, what do you do this for?
It's a hobby.
A hobby?
Yeah. Some people hike, and I just chat with strangers.
With strangers. You don't hike?
Actually, I do. I've been here with my family before. Yeah. Actually, it's one of the reasons why I'm at this spot, because it's beautiful, it's relatively quiet, and I meet a diverse group of people.
Oh, so how long will this take?
I can time it for 5. And are you okay if I record the audio and the video?
Yeah.
Okay. Thank you so much. How do you spell? It's Jackie, right?
Jackie.
J-A-C-K?
I-E.
Okay, well, I'm Anthony. So, yeah, is there a belief that you think is true? And it could be politics. It could be spiritual stuff.
Yeah, politics.
Like, oops, that's way up there. How about, like, ghosts or karma, or do you have any special abilities, or do you believe in God?
You know, I have to say, I think that there are spiritual connections that happen.
What's an example of a spiritual connection? I don't want to make any assumptions.
You know that like you're thinking about something and suddenly that person will call you, or you're trying to figure something out, and in the middle of the night it'll come to you. Or I remember after my husband passed away,
Sorry to hear that.
he just came to me in the night. I mean, he was there, but not his physical presence, but he was. I mean, I felt him there. Oh, and here are the kinds of things that happen to me after loved ones die. I'll be like, one day, sometime in the year after my husband died, I was in the backyard. And I was stooping down in the backyard, and this butterfly came, and it literally landed on my shoulder, and it stayed there for probably about a minute, and I just stayed really still, and then it flew away. And it just seemed like that was a connection to my husband. And right after my father died, my father loved hummingbirds. And this was even before his funeral. I was standing there. I have these windows, kind of door-in windows, on the back of my house, and I was looking outside. And there's this hummingbird. And so I thought, that's just telling me my dad's okay. because he loved hummingbirds. And so then I wrote a poem about it for his funeral. Stuff like that.
Okay. So you've had experiences where you've encountered some acts of nature or something, the butterfly landing on your shoulder, the hummingbird, and then you've concluded that these were spiritual connections.
Well, for me it was a spiritual connection.
Is this too emotional of a topic to discuss with you? Are you comfortable?
Me? Oh, you know, I get emotional easily.
Because I want to start asking some questions to see how certain you are that it really is a spiritual connection, like on a scale from 0 to 100. And I'm going to ask questions. And sometimes a belief that a person holds, whether it's spiritual connections or a god or karma or magic or whatever, ghosts, sometimes by the end of even 5 minutes, they're less confident that it's true. So I want to just put that out there. Sometimes they're more confident. Sometimes they're just as confident.
Well, you know, it's this kind of thing where you can't know for sure. But things happen that just make you think that there's somehow these connections that, you know, you don't know how they happen, you don't know what it is. I mean, is it what we call God? I mean, I don't know.
Let me ask you a more general question. Do you want to go through life believing things that are true?
So what is truth? Oh, I'm asking you questions.
This could be a back and forth, but I really like to try to stay neutral on it. What do you think truth is? Got a little hiker there. Reminds me of my niece.
So I think that there is a truth that is from one's perspective. It's like based on all of my background and my beliefs and possibly even, you know, just who I was created as. That, you know, it's sort of that who you were born as and all of those connections that happen.
Truth is dependent on your experience?
I think that my truth is dependent on that, and that it's very much a combination of the intellect and the emotions.
Okay. So if we were to think about this example of the butterfly landing on your shoulder, correct me if I'm wrong here, but I think what you're saying is because your truth is a product of your experiences, you having the butterfly land on your shoulder and deriving some sort of meaning from it made it true for you.
That's my truth. That's not.
Yeah, but like, let's say that same.
If it is.
Can I just finish
the
this?
Truth.
Like, let's say that same butterfly, after landing on your shoulder, hopped over the fence or whatever and landed on your neighbor's shoulder, and they just thought it was just a interesting coincidence.
Shoot, it might have. Well, then that's their truth.
Truths can vary from person to person?
Oh, I believe so. It's, you know, there is this thing called the truth. But I can't possibly know for sure what that is. I can only derive my truth from that.
What is the best way to determine if something is actually true?
The best way to determine if something is actually true. Well, I think you have to. I think you have to look at it from from a lot of different angles. It's like, it's like, excuse me for using politics, but it's like these politicians that say stuff. I don't believe them just because they say it, because I have my truth, and I don't. That's probably not even their truth, but I can investigate, like if it's I don't know, something that somebody thinks right or somebody thinks wrong. I can investigate that for myself, and I have to arrive at whether I think it's right or wrong, or maybe right in one circumstance and wrong in another. Well, so that's an intellectual thing, but then I'm also going to have some sort of emotional connection to that may color the way I see that might be different from the way somebody else sees it.
Okay. If somebody else were to perform the same investigation on a claim, like for example, I was thinking like this trail. The trail has a certain distance, right? X number of miles or kilometers or whatever. And you might think it's 2 miles. And let's say I think it's 3. If we were to both investigate it, we might both discover that it was 2.5.
Right, and I might use my stepper and say, oh no, that's not right, because I know, because somebody else has the same app, and they got that it was 2 miles, and I got that it was 1.7 miles. So which is right? Do you think that there is a true distance to the trail? Or does it vary from person to person? No, there's a true distance, but we just have our own, it's like we've invented this way to measure that distance, like in miles.
Yeah, we just came up with it, and yeah.
Yeah, but the distance is still the distance.
So then, in that case, there would be a true distance regardless of who was walking the trail, whether it was you or me or that little girl that was there.
Yeah, that's a fact. It's like you said, you're investigating a claim. Well, there are certain facts about that claim. This happened, this happened, this happened. But I think that then there are circumstances that might enter into that claim that might weigh on a decision that has nothing to do with, okay, these are the facts.
When we reflect back on the spiritual connections that you think exist, is this a belief or is it a fact?
Oh, it's a belief. I don't know if it's a fact.
Well, thank you very much for your time.
You're welcome.
I really enjoyed that talk. And I have a card here. It's got my email on it if you want to chat again. And I'm going to be coming here for the next several weeks. And if you run into me again, I'd love to keep the discussion going a little bit to keep better understanding this difference between opinions and facts and truths.
Yeah, opinions don't have to be based on any kind of facts. And often aren't.
Let me ask you this before you go. Are the spiritual connections that you mentioned, are these opinions or are they facts?
They're feelings.
All right. Well, thank you very much. Have a wonderful hike.
Whether they're opinions or facts, I don't know.
Have a wonderful day. You got beautiful weather for it now.
Oh, it's gorgeous.
Yes. Take care.
You too.
Bye-bye. That was an interesting talk. She was getting emotional at the start when she was mentioning that she was having these spiritual connections and that she was certain that her husband was there, the butterfly landing on her shoulder, her father with the hummingbird, and then being inspired to write a poem. And then, rather than get into the nitty-gritty of whether those things were true, I decided to change directions on that talk and focus more on general things like, what is the best way to know that something is true, or what is truth? I think she even asked me the question, and then I had to deflect it to turn it back to her. That was one of those situations where I was thinking about shutting it down, and then now that it's over, I'm glad that I didn't. And my main barometer that I'll use when I'm hesitant to continue is to simply ask somebody if they want to believe true things. And I think she said yes. I proceeded anyways, so I must have gotten the sense that she was okay to proceed. And we talked in more broad terms about her beliefs and what's the difference between facts. She mentioned that is a fact, which was great. And she talked also about the investigation, that people can investigate things, that would be a good way to find out if something was true. And then it kind of devolved into the, well, it's true for me discussion. But I was able to utilize the distance of the trail example. Quite a different talk, and an older person, which I was grateful to run into her. She seemed really friendly and nice, and I hope that I run into her again.